Welcome back, Strategy Gamers, to episode 5 of our Let's Play of War in the East 2, Stalingrad to Berlin scenario. Where we left off in episode 4 was doing the air and ground movement phase of turn 3, and we have made ourselves down to the Stalingrad front, working our way north to south of our front line. So now what we're going to do in this episode is work on the encirclement of Stalingrad, the formation of our defensive line between the German forces and what remains in Stalingrad. And then we will finish off the ground campaign, or the ground turn, with action around Krasnodar and Grozny. We will also take a look at our theater box situation to see how our other theater boxes are performing. So let's dive right into it. Looking at the situation here, we find that we have plenty of units really separating the Germans from any type of breakout. It's that you look at this situation and there's just no feasible way, looking at it, that the Germans are going to be able to break through and reestablish lines of supply to these forces that they have defending Stalingrad. So right here in the northern front of Stalingrad, they are pretty well dug in with some pretty strong defensive units. We're not even going to touch these, right? What we want to do is, in their rear, pick off units that are much smaller and weaker to continue closing in on this pocket, and we'll wait probably 2, 3, maybe even 4 turns for their units to just have a complete reduction in supply, ammunition, etc., to then finally push in and have kind of that final battle. So with that said, let's start looking at some areas of opportunity where we can pick off their weaker units. And then what we'll do is we'll work on just minor tweaks here to our defensive line to make sure that we're good here. So let's start, I think, with this unit, and if we just take the 277th and the 2 in the 61st Rifle Division, we should be able to pretty easily knock this unit out. So let's do that. So they've retreated. And now what we might do is we're going to attack with the 159th to try to finish that unit off. Alright, so they've surrendered. So that unit's off the board, and that's exactly what we need to do, is just unit after unit, taking out entire groups. Now, this should be so overwhelming that we'll probably rout them. Oh, they've surrendered as well. Look at how well this is going. So already those 2 units are just completely off the board. Now looking at it here, this is probably going to be our next opportunity, but what I want to do is I want to move this. Tank Corps doesn't really have too much attack value because its combat preparation is so low. So we might actually just leave that be and instead focus on where our next attack can be. I think we'll move up this unit just a little bit. Again, we're not in some big hurry here, right? We can take the time we need to. I don't want to stretch out our army here either, so this is part of the 21st Army, so I'm actually going to move this south to again help defend kind of our borders here. Moving this unit here, right, so this is just a little tighter in terms of our defensive line. And again, we move that unit here. That is... We're going to leave them be because they're almost out of movement points. We don't want to deplete them too much. And we'll move this artillery division up just 1 more X. This unit here, I shouldn't have moved up there. I should have kept it with its army. That's pretty important to do. I don't want to forget about it, but what we'll do after this pocket is we'll see if we can't cut off this town. So the 65th Army, we're going to leave you there. 65th, leave you there. 21st Army, and I don't want to deplete your movement, so you're fine. But the 5th Tank Army, I I think will be one of the ones that we do advance with here. So we're going to move you up. Also move up this 119th Rifle Division. And then we have the 50th Guards. So let's see if maybe we can't have a combat delay on one of those units, which must be why. Okay, so let's attack here. So they've retreated. So that's good. 5th Tank Army is what we want. We're going to move you up. We have another unit back here. It's 5th Guards. You can come up here. And so we're going to have the 21st Army, the 57th Army, and yeah, this 51st Army. You're going to kind of form our southern front here, okay? That said, you as part of the 5th Tank Army can come up this road, as can you, 1st Guards Corps. Let's see if we can't break through here. Excellent. So they've retreated. So now what we've done by doing that is we actually taken out this air base and their ability to use it. We're going to move up this 1st Tank Corps to kind of fill in that pocket. That's some good stuff right there. Okay. Air resupply is going to be the only way that they get any supplies in any capacity. So it's good that we accomplished that. We're going to move this motorized brigade up here. We're also going to move this Rifle Division up. Let's see then if we take all of these units. It's a 2-to-1, we'll take that. They surrendered. 15,000 Romanian infantry surrendered. It's a pretty good win. And we'll move you in to fill that pocket. Right, so again, keeping a very defensive perimeter here. Move you back there. Again, the 51st Army is going to form this defensive front that we have. You're part of the 64th, so we're going to move you up. It's important to keep these army groups together. We'll move you the 302nd down. Move you down. I think what we have to do though is move over here, this 4th Mechanized. There you go. I was thinking about trying to break out there, but now that I look at our lines, we're just maybe a little more stretched than I would like. So we're going to leave this as is. Take you over here. So let's see if we move this unit here. And take you there. Here we go. So now we're breaking this up a little. There we go. And then let's just put a little pressure on them, right? Because attacking them doesn't give them a chance to do too much of a counterattack if we're successful. We're just going to hold this line here. So the only spot where we don't have just a consistent front line would be right there. We'll move you down. Actually, it might be worth knocking you back. So we're going to do that. So they've retreated. Now we can move you up. Okay. Over here, I'm going to advance you. And against you, and we're just going to move this 28th Army up and in a little bit more defense of this front line. Move the HQ unit up. And we have 2 rifle brigades that we can move up with us. Alright. So that's a pretty good force then to try to protect the south here of our flank. Back to Stalingrad. I don't know that there's anywhere else that we're going to be able to... We'll do is the 65th Army. Yeah, you're there. Okay, that's fine. I think we'll move you up just to reinforce this ever so slightly. Can I cut off? I sure would like to cut off these units, so let's try it. They held. Shoot. It probably wasn't worth it. I could have been more conservative there. Okay. Okay. So you see just how much already this pocket has collapsed in on the defenders of portions of Stalingrad. Good news. Good news. And we have other areas of opportunity to press maybe. Can we hit this armored division? Let's do so. They've retreated. Lost 10% of their armored fighting vehicles. That's good. And we can move all of you up. And I do feel like maybe we should be able to attack them, but it doesn't look like we'll be successful. Let's move that artillery division out. And then let's do that, which is then a 2-1. We're halted. Shoot. Okay, fair enough. Very well. I have a couple of units here that are just kind of in the middle of nowhere. Right, they don't have enough movement points, that's why. Okay. So ultimately, 52nd Guards Rifle Division will come up here to help reinforce the line. And the next turn, 258th is going to help the 65th Army with their collapse in on Stalingrad. So I think that deals with the actions we have in and around Stalingrad. I'm feeling good about all of that. Do we have an army up here that I missed, perhaps? It looks like we do. These might have been reinforcements that had come in. So these are part of the southwestern front. As such, I think we will move them down here. And we might end up attaching them as part of the 3rd Guards Army. So let's do that. So this tank corps I'm going to have come down here, and they can be part of our push right here. Okay. And we'll assign that to the nearest army, which then should be the 3rd Guards Corps. Good. We're going to do the same with these 2 rifle divisions. Move them up to here. We'll also attach them to this 3rd Guard. So we'll click that. So they're now part of the 3rd Guard Army. Good. What else do we have? There's 2 divisions here. Yeah, I think I might have them come over here and help on this front a little. Yeah, because I think if they can break through here, that would be useful. So they'll come down here. And then, let's see if we then attach them. Are they going to go to the 6th Army? They did. Good. This motorized brigade, we can move up a little faster. That's what I'd really like, is for them to help get in behind here. Same thing with this mechanized corps, we'll do the same thing. So they can come down here. We'll attach them. What else do we have? These two rifle divisions will do the same. Move them down to this front line. And then we will attach them. Good. And I think that takes care of those units. Oh, I missed this too. Okay. So we're going to have you come up here. We'll have you attach. Your supply level is not great though, is it? Okay. Oh my god. Look at this. I've missed so much in my quick little pace going down all of these additional reinforcements that have come in. So we're going to have you move down here as well. And we'll do the same with the tank corps. First we'll assign you to the 13th Army. 13th Army. You can actually come and take this hex to break up their line. We'll assign you. Good. Continuing on past Stalingrad now that those cleanup efforts have been taken care of. Now let's look to see what we can do in and around Grozny. So you'll remember that they had plenty of forces here kind of on the front, and they've pulled them all back now. So what we're going to do is we're going to start just this push going east to west. We're not going to go too crazy about it, right? We don't want to completely exhaust these units, but we also want to take the ground they've given us. So move all of these units up just a little. Move the HQ up as well. Some of the terrain here obviously gets just a little tough. Alright, so they've been moved up. See how the impact the terrain's having there. We'll move you there. I would not profess to be an expert of how this region of the front played out historically, but it seems like this is just a bit of an opportunity to recapture some land, some facilities. I certainly know there's not an industrial base here, but quite a bit of opportunity if they're going to be pulling back here to take back some of the motherland. So move all of these units up here. It's really quite straightforward enough. We're going to stay on the roads where we can. Starting to use up some supply of these units as we do this, though. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Some of these HQ units need to move up too, so that should help. I think we're going to reassign this unit to a new HQ. And I think we can also move you up. In general, I think we're going to keep you here. Yeah. I had taken you two up because they were actually look like they might try to advance and take out our rail line here that was moving north-south. Now I'm wondering if I don't actually move you east-west. Try to... Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to end up then attaching you to, what is this, the 44th Army, because then you can be part of their advance going east-west here. Oh, contact. Okay. So we're just going to hold position there then. And you were assigned to the 28th, which I assume is up here. Good. Okay, that's fine. At the very least, I can hold / slow them down a little there. And I think this less mobile 110th Division, we're just going to move you here, and then you're ready to go and react to any force that tries to cut off our line there. Continuing to move these units back here. You one more forward there. Some of you more south on the map. And we can get you up here. Now we need to move this HQ unit up. Good stuff. Need to move this HQ unit up as well, so we'll go to the same hex the other is in. Okay, good. We have NKVD division. Interesting. I'm actually going to try to take Shakhtar here. Give up this mountain division. These guys are on low supply, so I'm a little hesitant about all of this. I'm going to keep moving up where we can. Okay, so we've got that taken care of. Now we have a lot of movement to be had here. Okay. You can go all the way up there. Same 236 rifle, 9th Guard. Not even close still. Not even close. Okay. So you've all moved up, which is good. Now we're going to move all of these units up here towards Krasnodar. Not going to push too hard though, because we don't want to add fatigue and lose all of our combat preparation points, but we are going to try to cut off this. This one we're going to push though to cut off this rail hex. You can come up here. And I think we'll have you take that. Is there, those are HQ units only. I'm going to push you to the limit just to get this airbase here. Okay, good. And we have a rifle corps there. I think we'll have you included in the push on Krasnodar. Okay. So that about wraps up the Stalingrad and Caucasus areas of our front lines. I think what we're going to do last, kind of before we close out the episode, is take a look at our theater boxes. So we introduced those in episode 3 and their basic functionality. We weren't sure exactly how much we would have to move between theater boxes to try to meet our commitment of forces there, right? Because again, they simulate the fact that, you know, you're fighting this war on multiple fronts. For example, the Soviet Union had to worry about the Far East because of the Japanese forces that existed in Manchuria. There was a fear for quite a while that those Japanese forces may actually push north and attack the Soviet Union from the Far East, which would have given them a lot of issues. And the Japanese ended up never actually successfully completing that for probably 2 reasons. One, they were very overstretched already across Southeast Asia. And secondly, because the Soviets did actually maintain a pretty sizable force in the Far East theater. So we're going to take a look at these theater boxes to see where we may need to transfer additional units to then help those war efforts outside of this Eastern Front that we're currently fighting on. To quickly access the theater boxes, we have these icons above the minimap, and they are color-coded to help show us kind of which theater boxes are in good or poor condition. So we see that the Transcaucasus theater box is green because we actually have 103% the ground forces that are kind of needed to maintain this theater, and 115 of the air forces. So we don't need to change anything here. But when we look at the northern front, we see we're at 95 and 94%. The previous turn, when we first interacted with these, I think we were around 85% for both ground and air. So we did actually increase this quite a bit. So I think we need to move just a few more divisions here to get these back up to 100%. And then when we look at the far east box, here we were sitting around 95%, I believe, with both ground and air. So we moved up a little bit. We need a few more divisions in the ground to finally hit to 100. So let's first do that is let's take 2 rifle divisions and move them to the far east. Actually, we might do 3 just to give ourselves a little bit of a buffer. And we're going to move them from our reserve units. So we're going to go to the R for reserves, and we're going to take, in all of these rifle divisions, they're all pretty much equal currently in terms of, I don't want to say composition, but in morale and readiness. So we're going to take just the first 3 here and move them to the far east. Another thing is there is a delay of moving them there, so that may actually be impacting as well our transfers of these and the representation in the theater boxes. So that's done. And then if we go back to the northern front, I think what we're going to do is add in 3 air units, and I think we'll do 4 ground units. We'll go back here to the reserves. I'm going to send 4 of these to the northern front. That's 2. Do another. And 1 more. And then let's send a couple of air units. We'll send this Yak 1 to the northern front. Also send this Yak 1 to the northern front. And we'll go down here to tactical bombers. We'll send this IL-2 to the northern front. And it looks like a lot of our reserve air units, air operational groups have actually increased, and I'm guessing that's because we've been using that AI assist for our air war. I would assume that due to the very heavy losses we've taken over the last 2 turns, that it has started to move some of these groups to the reserves to recompose themselves and get back up to fighting strength. We'll also send a level bomber. I don't actually know how useful this is going to be to the northern front, but we will send it regardless. And we'll also send 1 recon now that I think about it. So those have all been sent. Did we have any air we needed to send in the east? No, we're good in the east. So let's bring ourselves back to the top of the map here. That wraps up all of our execution for the ground phase. Did already select for the AI to manage our depots for our supply chain. So we're going to click intern, and this will now begin simulating the air supply that may be occurring with our own units right now. So this is going to cycle through a few different resupply missions that exist. And you see the areas that they're running. It makes logical sense that they're where the supply train situation is probably most stretched. We've had a lot of ground made up in the Stalingrad front, and now we get over to the logistics phase for the German forces. So this is going through and calculating everything before they get to their air turn. I'm very hopeful that this weather then will result in the Germans also sitting there going, you know what, we're grounding all of our flights, and I'm hoping that then means that for any counterattacks they may wish to do against our moves from the last turn, then are without air support, and they're discouraged then from executing them. Because if things end at kind of how we ended them here at this turn, I think we've made a lot of great progress, and really the only area that I have any concern of at all is when we look at some of our supply issues on this front near Smolensk and where they've pushed through with some of their armor here. I would really hate to see that continue to grow where they've pushed behind our lines. But I don't think they have enough forces at the ready to be able to truly cut off our front line here. So I'm not too concerned, but that's probably the greatest threat we currently face, is the lack of supply hurting our fighting ability there. Their AI turns going through now for air execution, and we'll see if they run any sorties at all. I'm betting none. If you remember a couple episodes ago, though, every time I say that, they just end up running a couple hundred sorties. But it's looking pretty good. So I think the weather probably held, and they probably made the same decision we did, that, you know, it doesn't make a lot of sense flying air doctrine missions in a blizzard. 72% done simulating. So the exciting part's about to come here with their ground phase. So let's see where they counterattack, if anywhere. So they've got some movement. You can hear it with the sound effects there. No battles yet, though. Yeah, so look here, they've actually pulled back some of that armor. Here it looks like there's some supply missions currently. So no concerns there. They're actually losing a number of planes, probably operational. It looks like we sent up some fighters. Here we actually have our first combat, and we held them off, it looks like, pretty easily too. Here we were actually defeated. Yeah. So it looks like they're... I don't want to say they're trying to fight the battle of the pocket. I'm not sure exactly what strategy they have. Looks like they pushed back one of our units here and here. So this is where we're getting pretty aggressive with establishing our front line. And they're counterattacking pretty strongly right now. You know, I'm okay with most of these. Yeah, so defending forces held. So this is where we had them kind of surrounded. But they pushed back there. But they're still surrounded. So they haven't established a line of supply. So if we can keep holding, good, those units held. That was key. That was very important. So I think we've still managed to keep them cut off here entirely. Oh no, our division was routed. And another division routed. Oh, you see, these are the ones that we had those supply issues with, where they're getting behind us. So that's a little concerning. Same thing down here. Okay. So they are having some success in this pocket. That's unfortunate. But remember, we have quite a few reinforcements coming into the area. So hopefully we can recover. And again, hopefully at the end of next turn, because we are not moving 2 whole armies worth of divisions over here through the rail lines, hopefully then that means the rail lines are able to better offer supply to our units. So they're 30% through their turn. They've done quite a bit of damage. I'm a little alarmed. If you look here at the map, they're still surrounded there, still surrounded there, still in a pocket, being completely surrounded here. And here, they actually opened up an opening between, but they're pretty much still encircled. So we can probably just attack and force that unit into a fight where they're so vastly outnumbered that it's not going to matter terribly. And their turn is almost wrapping up. They're 92% now. And now they're just shifting their lines, doing the final moves of the turn. Looking at this map, I'm a little optimistic that they don't appear to have pushed quite as strongly here. So my hope is that if these units get into supply, we can encircle and have some success against a few of them. A little alarmed that this unit up here routed, though. Because we need to hold that line to cut off these units. Now we're getting to the Soviet logistics turn, where it's calculating our supplies. Again, this is the moment of truth to see if my hopes come true down here and we get resupplied. About halfway done with this. We will then go over the summary of the end of turn, any news events that happened, and then we'll call the episode to a close. Again, I think this strategy is going to work a little better where we have slightly shorter episodes, but that will result then in 2 episodes per turn. But I think it breaks it up a little nicely for you, the viewer, and for myself going through and doing the recording session. 70% with the logistics turn, just about completed. This has been pretty enjoyable getting into this game since its release. I've really quite fallen for it and see this as one that's going to be part of my library for quite some time as a bit of a go-to. And logistics turn now wrapping up, going through some save actions. All right, end of turn summary. We now have had 3 consecutive turns with larger losses than the turn previous. So 61,000 men perished in the line of battle, 864 gun, 312 armored fighting vehicles, and 119 aircraft. The good news here is that this is significantly fewer lost aircraft than in all previous turns. So that is very exciting to see. Our net order of battle changes are that on the map we have 12,000 fewer fighting men, 1,600 fewer guns, 166 fewer armored fighting vehicles, and 345 more airframes. And it is kind of good news, I think, if you look at the theater boxes that we have, that in net we actually had growth in most areas. And then for our enemies, they actually suffered even more in terms of net losses to men. Guns, they didn't have as many losses. They're pretty flat in armored fighting vehicles, and they did not grow their airframes by as many as we did. More encouraging news, we now only have 33 units low supply. So if we go back to turn 2, I believe that number was about 75. Last turn, that number was 45. So again, our supply situation continues to improve. So I'm really encouraged by that. So this is our turn summary. Let's now look at some news events that have happened. So it looks like the campaign in Northern Africa has not been going well for the Germans, as they have retreated and allies have taken control. And it looks like partisan activity is actually increasing a little bit in Soviet territory that the Germans have occupied. So those are the news events. And this brings us to a pretty good stopping point for the turn. In the next episode, we're going to go through the air phase and the ground phase in 2 different parts to finish up turn 4. Thanks so much for watching as always. Please hit that like and subscribe button if you have not already. And again, I'd encourage you, if you have any questions or thoughts after watching the video, to add those in the comments section. And if there's anything I can do to help with the comment or answer any questions, I will certainly do so. Thanks so much, and have yourselves a great day, strategy gamers. Take care.